Hello, welcome to Mzansioz Diary, and my name is Connie. I just wanted to come here, guys, and actually give you an update about the Miss SA South African adechina. So I will give you a background. I did do a long video. My last video was about why were the mainstream media actually and most people on X saying that South African were xenophobic, about this adechina. So I'll give you some clip of the mainstream media of what they were saying about adechina. Let's have a listen.
Well, Miss South Africa contestant Chidima Vanessa Onwe has become a topic of hot debate in the country. Some netizens are calling for her to be removed from the pageant after she disclosed that her father was Nigerian and her mother South African with roots in Mozambique.
Media platform on whether adechina should be allowed to continue to participate for Miss South Africa or not. Some South Africans claim she is a Nigerian and she should be disqualified from the pageant immediately. Others have supported her, saying her mother is a South African and that makes her South African too. Political party Economic Freedom Fighters issued a statement condemning Afrophobic attacks on adechina. The party says previous contestants of white and Asian descent did not face such scrutiny, so why should a black South African face such? Adechina herself has remained resilient, expressing her determination to use her platform to educate and unite people. This is Calden Almo from Johannesburg, South Africa, for We On, World is One.
South Africa competition has currently become a center of debate on national identity and xenophobia. The controversy surrounds Chidima Adechina, a 2024 Miss South Africa pageant finalist. The 23-year-old, born in Soweto, is facing scrutiny and backlash over her identity, with questions on her eligibility to be a part of the competition. Adechina was born to a Nigerian father and a mother of Mozambican descent. While she is in the top 11 of the race for the pageant title, the criticism has become more intense as she moves closer to the crown. For days now, users on social media have been questioning her bloodline, subjecting her to hate and abuse, and many are calling it a matter of national importance. The debate intensified after a video of Adechina surfaced showing her celebrating her success with her Nigerian relatives. This further fueled the argument by many that she was not South African enough. Her nationality has become a hot topic among politicians and media figures, and even on TV news and radio talk shows. Even South Africa's Minister of Arts, Sport and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, jumped into the debate. He said it would be a travesty for the country to be represented globally by someone who identifies more with Nigeria than South Africa. Action SA leader Herman Mashaba also joined the debate, criticizing Adechina's participation. EFF leader Julius Malema backed Adechina while speaking on a podcast. Dismissing the criticism, he said citizenship is determined by place of birth and that Adechina was South African. Adechina expressed her frustration at the backlash. She, along with her supporters, countered the criticism with accusations of xenophobia. Her supporters view her as a symbol of the country's identity. Despite the backlash, Adechina states that she remains determined to succeed. The Miss South Africa organization has also stood by her, stating that citizenship, regardless of origin, is the primary requirement. Born in Soweto, Adechina is a South African citizen.
So, as you have heard from that video from the mainstream media, they spoke in confidence. They were so sure that this woman was actually a South African. And they were really prepared to put on record that South Africans were xenophobic for even to dare to question this woman's identity without even understanding the history and the circumstances of why there was a huge uproar about her. They were prepared to go after the citizens. All majority of the elites as well in South Africa and all the mainstream media, oh no, you're xenophobic, because now it's a trending word on social media to call people xenophobic, to be inflammatory, to use those language in this story where you actually don't even understand the full scope of it, why these people, South African, were actually angry and thinking that this woman was actually an imposter, was not them, could not be anywhere represent them. So you didn't actually, most of them didn't even think about why would a South African not want this woman. So you were like, the mainstream media, we're going on, no, they're xenophobic. That's all. That's why, because they're xenophobic. Yeah. So now, let's listening in to a minister now. What the preliminary evidence that they actually uncovered through a request by actually Miss SA. Let's listening in to hear what the minister is saying about adechina.
Request received from the organizers of Miss South Africa preliminary investigations by the Department of Home Affairs has released a statement to say that an investigation has found that prima facie reasons exist to believe that fraud and identity theft may have been committed by the person recorded in Home Affairs records as Chidima Adechina's mother. The investigation came at the request of the organizers of the upcoming Miss SA contest, in which Chidima is a contestant. Here's the voice of Home Affairs Minister Dr. Leon.
By Home Affairs has found prima facie indications of fraud committed by Chidima Adechina's mother. The Department of Home Affairs herewith provides an update on the ongoing investigation into the citizenship of Miss Chidima Adechina, a contestant in the upcoming Miss SA event. The reason for the ongoing nature of the investigation is that its scope has broadened since the original request received from the organizers of Miss SA, based on the information uncovered by Home Affairs investigators thus far. The department nonetheless provides this update to the public based on that official request and consent. We will provide a final update once the investigation is concluded. Upon receiving the request for investigation, the department deployed every resource at its disposal to establish the truth. This has included archival research, visits to hospitals, and site visits to verify information. From the information we have uncovered thus far, the Department of Home Affairs can indicate that prima facie reasons exist to believe that fraud and identity theft may have been committed by the person recorded in Home Affairs records as Chidima Adechina's mother. Adechina herself could not have participated in the alleged unlawful actions of her mother, as she was an infant at the time when the activities took place in 2001. An innocent South African mother, whose identity may have been stolen as part of the alleged fraud, suffered as a result because she could not register her child. The department has broadened its investigation to identify and pursue any officials involved in the alleged scheme, and is obtaining legal advice on the implications of the alleged fraudulent activity on Adechina's citizenship status. And finally, upon the completion of the investigation, Home Affairs intends to press criminal charges and convict all implicated parties. This case, which stems from alleged fraudulent activities committed 23 years ago, highlights the urgent need for the digital modernization of Home Affairs applications, adjudication and verification processes to insulate the department against fraudulent interference, similar to the reforms undertaken at the South African Revenue Service in the late 2000s. The case also highlights the reason for the department's blocking of certain duplicate IDs. Update on the ongoing investigation into the citizenship of Miss Chidima Adechina, a contestant in the upcoming Miss SA event. The reason for the ongoing nature of the investigation is that its scope has broadened since the original request received from the organizers of Miss SA, based on the information uncovered by Home Affairs investigators thus far. The department nonetheless provides this update to the public based on that official request and consent. We will provide a final update once the investigation is concluded. Upon receiving the request for investigation, the department deployed every resource at its disposal to establish the truth. This has included archival research, visits to hospitals, and site visits to verify information. From the information we have uncovered thus far, the Department of Home Affairs can indicate that prima facie reasons exist to believe that fraud and identity theft may have been committed by the person recorded in Home Affairs records as Chidima Adechina's mother.
Yep. As you have heard, her mother stole identity. It's alleged her mother, the evidence that they have right now suggests that her mother may have stolen someone else's identity. And this is not actually just a unique case. This is actually common, and actually there's a lady who is talking about that today, since 2000, she's been fighting to get her identity back. Somebody stole their identity. And she cannot even register her baby. She cannot register her child. She can't even go and enroll in university. She cannot even work because she needs the identity. She needs this. There are consequences to this. There's a lot of South Africans who are, not happy about this situation. I showed you the story the other day when I was reporting this state, and I was telling you this is not actually, there is a reason why they are not feeling here. And to be honest, I had my hunch, and I was about 99.9% after I've made some little bit of digging about what's her story here, what's going on, and I listened to her speak, and I thought, one thing that gave away to me was the fact that she actually did not speak any of our languages, and her mother is a South African. If her dad was a South African, maybe I'll say yeah. And if she didn't grow up in South Africa, but then I would say, she grew up in Soweto, South African township, and she cannot even speak one of our languages. Not one. Yeah. The only language she can speak is English. English is one of those official languages in South Africa. There's 11 official languages, as English is one of them. But she's representing black South African women, and she grew up in Soweto. She could not speak our languages. And her mother was meant to be a Zulu woman. Oh my God, that story didn't add up. Because it is that not because of her name, her last name. Actually, it's not the last name. It's the fact of it is the culture, the behavior. Each culture, has its own, how people in that culture, the customs. South Africa's culture is still intact. Customs, how, if you're Zulu and South Africans are going after your mother, your child, and they're saying that your child is not yours, and probably a foreign child, would you actually sit there and not say anything? That was uncharacteristic, and I thought, geez, that's a bit weird. Why aren't mom's not coming out and saying anything? This one is a bit, doesn't make sense. And yeah, and also because I know that we all South African are very open, honest, and we are outspoken, and we are very upfront about things. And it was also strange that she didn't say anything. Not even, no one would come out and defend her and say anything like and say, oh no, I know her, we went to school together, her mom used to was a hairdresser. No one would say anything. Nothing. No story about what she anything related to her, just growing up in Soweto. And I thought, geez, that this looks like it's a made up story. I had my hunch. As soon as I thought, I'm not going to say it. But now that there is a reason to believe they're dealing with identity fraud here. And there's many of these stories in South Africa, and I showed you guys. And even those stories, I would argue that they actually probably they crossed the border. Australia has a lot of South African who are migrating from South Africa to here, and it may be better for the Minister of Home Affairs in Australia to actually go and have a look and check that no one has actually stole someone else's identity from South Africa to come to Australia. You may know that in Ireland they've actually caught up with a lot of Zimbabwean and stealing these with a fraudulent passport. Those ones were fraudulent, and they claim asylum when they get to Ireland, and hence Ireland has actually cancelled the visa-free status of South Africans. So South Africans now they have to apply for visa to go to Ireland. These are fraud. This stuff has consequences. For South Africans, and the reason why these people do it is because in their country there's a lot of lawlessness. Because there's lawlessness, they would go to South Africa now to acquire South African identity, so then they can go and continue to pretend they are South Africans. And in all these cases, these people were caught. Majority of them are getting caught not because of the passport is legit, because the passport would be legit. They'll scan it on, it's fine. Scan it, fine. But it's just the culture. In Italy, I saw another video of someone in Italy, how they caught those Ethiopians with a fraudulent South African passport. Actually, with a South African passport, it was legit. It's scanned because, fraud of the officials who are working in that Home Affairs in South Africa. They gave these people, they sold this passport to them by stealing a South African by stealing identity of a South African. And how that person did was that they would go to this poor South African community and get them the fingerprints and pay them money for their fingerprint. That's how the scam worked. Okay, and so these are marginalized community in South Africa. Some of them didn't understand why, and they say, oh, government is giving us money, and okay, that is even just to think about it. But anyway, that's how the scheme worked. And that person in Italy that was caught up, wasn't because the passport didn't scan. It was because they didn't speak English at all. They didn't speak English, and the lady spoke French. And the lady thought, that's strange that he doesn't speak English, but they are South African. How come? Why is this lady speaking French? And then they put them into they stopped them, and they actually interrogated them and found out where they're from, and did a lot of digging about them, and they uncovered this scam. Because the passport scan, it's legit. It was made through fraud in South Africa, so it will scan when they cross through Italy. And this stuff has consequences for citizens of South Africa. And I hope for all of you who are going on about this xenophobic, you would actually go back and reflect on yourself, and shame on you, or even apologize to South African for insulting them and calling them xenophobic. And I hope all the media, they will actually reflect as well with the language they use, and really do what journalists is all about. It's find the story, find the actually not just the clickbait. What is actually the source of this problem? What's going on? Why are people feeling this way? For a person that looks like everybody else, she looks like most South African, that girl. But what is it that actually made that one? You wouldn't, if you're a Western person, you wouldn't understand, because you're not a South African. You wouldn't understand our culture. And a lot of uproar that I saw was like, even for me, when I looked at it, and I thought, oh, it's a bit strange, isn't it? that she doesn't speak South African language. And her mom is Zulu. And I thought, so you know your culture. You know your culture. And I said, maybe. Was she adopted? What? We know our culture. We know how it works. You can scam all of this stuff, but the culture will actually, you can't fake yourself. You can't fake the culture. You can fake all the passport, not the culture. That's all I can say to this one. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you next time. Bye.